Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, navigating the human experience together.
Hapade, Tiro, and welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry. We're taping today's show on Covenant Day, celebrating the creation of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands in political union with the United States of America 50 years ago. At the same time, we're celebrating the 250th birthday of America. And joining us in this year's celebration are a few representatives here on island from the Smithsonian Institution. Michelle Banks is a curator at the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage, and our other guest is Arlene Reiniger. She is Senior Program Specialist and Intern Coordinator, also at the center. Ladies, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Marianas.
Thank you.
Thank
Catherine.
you.
How has your trip been so far, 1 week in?
Well, once I got over the jet lag, it's been quite beautiful. I was texting with a friend, like, I could get used to this office.
The view, right?
Yeah, it really is a beautiful island, but we've been busy on some days, and there are other days where we haven't been so busy, so we've had an opportunity to go out and about. But have just been really touched by how generous people have been and how interested in the work that we do, and just sort of ready to offer words or point you in the right direction. So it's been really a lovely, lovely experience.
Well, we're happy to have you here. For those that might not be familiar with the Smithsonian Institution, what is it?
What is the Smithsonian? You want to take that one? we can do it in tandem.
The Smithsonian is a complex of 21 museums, 11 research units, and the National Zoological Park. Mm-hmm. So the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage is one of those research units, and we work across the campus, across the Smithsonian, in producing the projects that we do. So one of the main projects that we produce is the annual Smithsonian Folklife Festival, which started in 1967 during a time of a lot of civil rife and friction around the United States. The secretary of the Smithsonian at the time, S. Dillon Ripley, realized that it was important to bring people together and have conversations face to face. So in 1967, we produced the festival. The secretary wanted, there's a famous, not so famous, a quote that we cite a lot. He wanted us to take the instruments out of the cases and let them sing. So with that, we're showing that these instruments, these crafts pieces are not just works of art, but they're functional. People make them, people use them. So we're putting a spotlight on the makers and the people who play the instruments and sing the songs and cook the foods and weave the baskets. And the festival has been showcasing contemporary traditional expressive culture since 1967, and then come the bicentennial of the United States, and the festival, which had been 1 week, 2 weeks, was a 3-month-long festival in the summer of '76. It was quite the party, yeah. Yeah. So we were featuring, most regions across the United States, and brought people from around the world to come present their traditions and their heritage on the National Mall. It's free and open to the public, and going strong. So this year, 50 years after the bicentennial, we're celebrating the 250th in a different way.
And even though you're here this week, you actually have a standing relationship with the Commonwealth in that the institution hosted a delegation from our islands last year. Tell us a little bit about how that happened and how it went.
So in 2025, the festival program was called Youth in the Future. The theme was youth. Youth in the Future of Culture, and it was a festival focused on how young people are maintaining cultural traditions, how they are innovating culture, how they're claiming culture. And we had everything from young people who were carrying on lowrider traditions to being involved in the building
Is that
arts.
culture?
Yeah, it is. Definitely
You bet.
so.
Because when we think culture here, we think like ancestral knowledge, but lowriders could also be part of it.
So our definition of culture is really broad, and we've done everything from lowriders to lawyers and fire people. So, but yeah, we all, everything that we do, sort of thinking about culture is like the whole social order. I think that's sort of our thinking about this. But everything from lowriders to young people who are involved in building trades, but specialized things such as stone carving and blacksmithing and that sort of thing. And through some work with another colleague in DC, someone knew Leo Pangilinan from the Humanities Council, and we were talking to him about somehow having some youth participation in the festival, and he did some work in helping us hook us up with this lovely group of dancers and singers from the Northern Mariana High School, and an elder here in the community who is a caretaker of the stick dance in the Carolinian community, Joseph Rolk, and they came to DC and they performed and they talk about their work, sort of maintaining traditions here in the Northern Marianas. So it was just really lovely to have them. And when I wanted to just go back to something Arlene was saying about the center in 2026. Since 1967, we've been bringing people to Washington, D.C., including that 3 months of the bicentennial. And in 2026, instead of bringing people to D.C., we decided that we would go out and collaborate and sojourn with other festivals around the country as a way for us to sort of begin to think about and explore how important these gatherings are to people in community and how we maintain community and how we continue cultural traditions. So building on that relationship that we started with the young people coming out for the 2025 festival, we decided that we would reciprocate and come out here and sort of think about and explore festival making here in the CNMI.
Well, we're happy to have you, and also I can imagine for those young people that went to the festival, it must have been like so inspiring, really, because we're so geographically isolated here, but to see like their own culture as part of the bigger American story and celebrated by a bigger part of America must have been a really lovely experience for them. Yeah,
it really was. And one of the beauties of the festival program is that we're bringing people from very different communities. And it's this opportunity. We put them all up at the same hotel, and there's so much collaboration that goes on. Yeah, so there's it's like we have a schedule planned, and then sometimes they get together at the hotel and then come to us and they say, okay, that's our schedule, but we're going to invite this group from. We talked to these people last night. We're going to do this thing together. So there's a lot of that, and there was a lot of talk about can we collaborate, and people like behind the scenes sort of coming up with things, because it's an opportunity for people to share across regions, across territories, across cultures, to sort of, because this is how culture grows, with these collaborations and these gatherings. So it was really an honor to have them and to hear from them the things that they took with them from the festival, and how they could sort of apply some of that to the work that they do here. And for us to be here, we've been doing this since I haven't been doing this since 1967, but the festival has been doing its thing since 1967. So it's also been a wonderful opportunity for us to go out and see how other people do festival. So we have a model, and this is how we do things, but we have a lot to learn from the way other people do festivals as well. So it's been really a nice sort of cross, this exchange, this reciprocal exchange about, this is what we do and this is what we do, and then sort of thinking about what are the things we can take back and share across these exchanges.
I think it was a wonderful idea for the Smithsonian to come out and do exactly what you guys are doing here. So you've been here about a week. What are the activities you've been involved in or doing as part of your visit here?
Talk about
So we, it was fun. Our first in-person meeting at the Humanities Council last week. We had been meeting, I guess, early morning your time, in the evening our time.
Yeah.
So
Nice to be in the same time zone.
Yeah,
it really
seeing
is.
people
And
face
to
to
see
face,
people in
yeah.
3D.
Yeah.
But we've been taking part in weekly meetings that the Humanities Council has been putting together, and just providing ideas and feedback. Realizing right off the bat that you guys know what you're doing. Far be it from us to come in and dictate how you should present your culture. That's not what we do. We're there for to have your back, and if there are questions or we can inform on how we do things, our approach with how we do the festival. But so anyway, the meeting last week was great, and then just figuring out how we can support the Commonwealth Jubilee. And I think part of that is, we appreciate that we were given space to explore on our own the culture, the environment, and it gives us really a good backdrop for what we've been experiencing these last 2 days, or this is the third day. So it's been really helpful and a real education for us.
There was an event at the Civic Center on Sunday afternoon that you were a part of, celebrating the island heritage in relation to the Covenant and also the America's 250th birthday. May I ask, you had meetings before you came, you knew some people from here. What did you think before you got here? And did those impressions, been met, or expectations? Not expectations, but did you even know about the Commonwealth before you were assigned to to this festival? Okay. What were you expecting, and what has it been like?
Well, I don't know if this is going to answer your question directly, but just as anecdotal, when we produce festival programs, it takes about 2 years.
Wow.
This festival came together in about 2 months. So our expectations were not, you exceeded our expectations, let me put it that way.
Okay.
Blew them out of the water. To experience enduring traditions the first day of the Commonwealth Jubilee, it was quite amazing. I think people who took part got very good guidance, and they ran with it. And I went around, I talked to as many people as I could, and they're just so knowledgeable and so full of pride in their culture and in their craft, and just really, I got the sense they really enjoyed sharing that with the visitors.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Could you share one interesting thing you learned on Sunday at the Jubilee? I know you were kind of busy documenting stories, which we're going to talk about in the second half of the show, but anything, or since your visit here, anything about the culture that stands out to you?
I think that for me, just the warmth. People have been just profoundly warm, it's very rare that I go to a place where I can feel like after I've met you that first day, when I see you the next day, I'm giving you a hug. You know, and it felt great. You know, it's like, oh, I've loved it. You know? It's like everyone, you know, it's like after we met that first day, you know, this is, you know, there's this connection here.
Yes.
And that's been just profoundly gratifying. You know, people are, you know, very grateful, you know, the Smithsonian, for coming out and for, you know, working with us on this and that sort of thing. But, and that, you know, that's a piece of it. But I think at the same time, there's a genuine warmth that we are in this together in this moment, and we're working together. And that means something. That connection that we're making around this work, around this festival making, that means something sort of greater than the institution. I feel like, you know, there's very much a very human connection that you often lose in some of these professional spaces. So, you know, we often have to go to these very, very formal events and that sort of thing. And we're going to formal events, but at the same time, you know, we met with the governor, and he was warm, and it was like, you know, I don't know if I'll ever talk to a governor again. This is kind of a big deal to me, and I'm nervous. But, you know, he's like, how are you doing? You know, and it wasn't like very stern or whatever. You know, he was like, come over here and take a photograph with me. It's like, okay. You know? So, you know, it's just a real genuine warmth that people have expressed and shared, and you know, us being here and being interested and you know, wanting to work with people in the community to make this event happen.
Mm. Well, I think you got a big part of the cultural heritage here just with that.
Just with that.
Yeah.
And people have talked about that, and we've talked about it in our interviews. You know, we're very warm people. I was like, I see that.
It's a small, what do they call it? Small village or small town, small island mentality. Yeah. Well, when we come back, I want to give you a chance to share a little bit more about the documentation that you're doing while you're here. Okay. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good,
okay.
Yeah.
We will be back with more from the Smithsonian Institution after this break.
Looking for resources about Marianas history, culture, and more? Well, check out the Northern Marianas Humanities Council's collection. Our extensive video, audio, and photographic library can be found on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at 670 Humanities. Or check out the written resources on our website at nmhcouncil.org. And for those who prefer a good book, we also have a selection of local publications for purchase. So, dive in, explore, and share your comments as we navigate the human experience together.
Hafaday, Zantiro. I'm Leo Pangilinan with the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. We'd like to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors who have made possible the many programs in our community like this show. We couldn't have done it without them. And if you value the work we do and would like to make a contribution to our efforts, we ask that you consider making an in-kind or cash contribution to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. Any amount is appreciated, and donations of up to $5,000 qualify for an educational tax credit. We appreciate your partnership and support. Sidus Maasi, Olomai, and thank you.
Welcome back. We are chatting with Michelle Banks, Curator, and Arlene Reiniger, Senior Program Specialist and Intern Coordinator with the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage under the Smithsonian Institution. Long title, and they are deep in it here in the Marianas. You have something called you've been operating something called a mobile documentation and storytelling station during this visit. Well, I saw you at the beachside there, but I didn't have a chance to kind of see what you were doing. What is this all about?
First of all, if you see us again, we want to interview with you. So we hold these truths. We had some storytellers working with us during the 2025 festival, and during that time, we were also sort of thinking about ideas and themes for the 2026 program, and this idea of these truths came up, and we've been talking about it and talking about what are these truths and what is truth and how are the people's stories involved in these truths and that sort of thing. So we decided that we would take probably one of the best known lines from the Declaration of Independence, "We hold these truths," and we would use that as a spark to start these conversations about people in their communities and gatherings and what they mean to how culture is perpetuated and continues, and how the role of culture and gatherings in community building. So we hold these truths is it's meant to be a conversation. We are gathering, we're doing we're recording people's stories at different festivals that we will be traveling to over the course of 2026. So from now until November or so of 2026, we will be popping up at about 20 or 21 different festivals across the country, and as well as in the territories here in the Commonwealth, and talking to people about what the gatherings that we are popping up at mean to them, how those gatherings, how those gatherings help them build community. What are some of the things that the truths of their community, and what these gatherings mean, and how those gatherings feed those truths, and what those truths are, and what are some things people would like to share with people outside of their community, truths of their community that they would like to share with other people across the country. This here in the CNMI, we're also working with the Bishop Museum. So the interviews gathered here will be will go into the archive at the Smithsonian, as well as at the Bishop Museum in Hawaii, and they'll be available to teachers and scholars and students and the people who did the interviews and their families. And again, it's meant to be a conversation. One of the things we hope to do is to be able to, as we go to these different festivals, be able to share some of the responses from like a previous festival. So a couple of things that someone says in the CNMI might go to the Baltimore Irish Festival, will be popping up in a few weeks, and they'll get to read those and say, oh, this is what people in the CNMI are talking about. Here in Baltimore, these are the things that we think are interesting. So we'll take these voices from CNMI to Baltimore to the next festival, and then they'll sort of add on to this. Part of what we're doing with this 2026 program, we'll be creating a story map, and we hope to take some of these pieces of these interviews and put them on that story map, and people can actually hear the voices from the Marianas, and these are some of the truths of our community. These, we're gathered here to celebrate this covenant, and this is what the covenant means to me. So this building on these questions of what these gatherings mean and what these truths mean to people in their communities.
I love that idea of like taking some of the things said at one festival to another festival, because it builds a sense of community, I feel, across the nation, telling the story of the nation.
Exactly.
And anybody living in the CNMI could participate in these?
Absolutely. So we did about 8 interviews on Sunday, about 12 last evening. So we, last evening was particularly beautiful because there were a lot of young people who wanted to participate, and some of them, our youngest participant was 10 years old. And it was beautiful. He says, I am here to spread love. So he was the star of the evening. But others, there were some young people who were interns with working with the program, and they came over, and some of them are studying law, and they talked about this idea of sovereignty is important to me, and they talked about issues of money mining and, you know, very much involved in, you know, what's happening politically and socially within the CNMI, and ready to share that, you know, share that information and share those stories, because those are, you know, those are important pieces of how this culture is continued, you know, having that access to the ocean and having access to these different resources. So some really powerful testimonies, and anyone and everyone is invited to share. So we will be popping up this evening at the Crown Plaza as part of the Jubilee trivia night.
Oh, trivia, that's right, with the youth.
Trivia night.
Yes, that
with the
sounds
youth
like
trivia
fun.
night. So we'll do a couple of hours this evening. So come on out if you've got some truths to share. Please join us.
Well, now that you've had an opportunity to learn about our community a little bit, and based on your experience, how do you see our Commonwealth fitting into the work that you do with other folk traditions from the country? Are there any like similarities that stand out, or common themes, common heart?
I think there is a common thread from what I've been hearing and seeing, and just the fierce pride people have in their culture. I've been hearing about how young people do leave to go to school, but eventually they come back because this is where their family is, this is where their community is. And I think it's obvious that's very strong here, and it's really nice to see.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you again both for coming out all this way, as well as your colleague Annika, who helped put us in touch with each other. And any final thoughts before we go?
I think that, I worked with young people. I was a teacher for a long time and worked with young people for many years. And one of the most exciting pieces of this has been the care that the organizers and the elders have expressed in making sure to create a space where young people felt welcome and were a part of the planning of this. And one of the things that, with the collaborations that we're doing, internships are really important. So it's our hope that all of this energy and excitement that has kind of been created as a result of this Jubilee gets carried forth with the young people who had an opportunity to work with this. I think you mentioned this, that people have like full-time jobs and it's difficult to kind of sort of do, because you know the planning itself becomes another job, but it's a volunteer job. But our hope is that by incorporating young people in this way, that the spark is there, and they'll be the ones that are the next set. Then they'll become the festival makers of in subsequent years. But just based on what those conversations that I've had with people, and I think all of us have had, there is just this this incredible pride of language and tradition that these young people possess, and I think we're leaving things in good hands. I think they're there. So I look forward to next year's Jubilee and whatever other festival making that happens here in the CNMI.
Yeah, looking forward to the further collaboration. Yeah. Arlene?
Well, I think we hope that this is the first of many Commonwealth Jubilee festivals. And we just are so grateful for having us here and for your hospitality. It's been wonderful.
Well, thank you too.
Honor.
Yeah, thank you for bringing your expertise and spirit of community to our community from the Smithsonian Institution, and wish you an enjoyable rest of your visit and safe return home.
Thank you.
Our guests today have been Michelle Banks. She's a curator, and also Arlene Reiniger, senior program specialist and intern coordinator at the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage under the Smithsonian Institution. They are capturing our stories also while they're here, and those will be available through them to help preserve what we are celebrating this week here in the Marianas. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
Your Humanities Half Hour has been made possible in part by a major grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Democracy demands wisdom. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities. For more information or to share your thoughts, contact the Northern Marianas Humanities Council at nmhcouncil.org or on social media at 670 Humanities. That's 670 Humanities.